Welcome to this video series about improvising by Sietze de Vries. You can support this video series by donating the amount of your choice to Sietze de Vries' Patreon account, which can be found by searching Sietze de Vries Patreon or by finding the link in the description below the video. Enjoy the video.
In the last video we talked about the secondary dominant, so a dominant 7 chord that you can put in anywhere in a harmony and that leads to the next chord. And it's actually a really important thing to use because your harmony is enriched by a large margin from the normal chords that we used so far. And to go a little bit deeper into that, what you could say basically is that we move now from Renaissance harmony in the beginning. Renaissance harmony is always about root position, simple chords. And then we move in the direction of the Baroque and even the late Baroque. Because if you look at the music of Johann Sebastian Bach, which is of course every organist's hero, that's kind of the goal you want to reach when you want to make really beautiful music. Then you see that Bach uses secondary dominants all the time. Dominant 7 chords in any case, a lot of times, and like I said last time, very often in inversion, so not just root position dominant 7, but always with the 7 somewhere hiding, and sometimes in the bass, sometimes in the tenor or the alto, but hardly ever in the soprano. And the secondary dominants get really important, and also the diminished chords. And diminished chords are of course very interesting because they are very close to a dominant 7 chord. If I put a diminished chord on E flat, for example, so minor thirds on top of each other, if I change the E flat into a D, then it's actually a dominant 7 chord. So it's very close. And you can make beautiful things with that, to just change one little note and then suddenly a complete different atmosphere appears and you go into another room, as it were. The best example is probably the Ave Verum from Mozart, and then we are already in the classical period of course. But he has this wonderful idea. It's actually nice to just quickly analyze that piece because it starts in D major as a just nice melody. Any other composer could have come up with it. It's just beautiful and nice, like this. So what basically happened here was we started in D major and the end of the line is A major, which makes complete sense. We moved from the tonic to the dominant. Now we stay in the dominant. And if Mozart was a boring composer, he would just go back to the beginning now, which is perfectly possible. You just have you can even add a dominant 7 chord. And you can just repeat the beginning. That's not what Mozart does, and that's what makes him a genius actually. He stays in the dominant. He actually emphasizes the dominant, so he makes an extra line to really have the emphasis on this is the key we're in. So we stay in A major. And now we come to the really brilliant part. From this 5, so A major, he turns it into diminished chord. The diminished chord turns into a dominant 7 chord, and suddenly we have made a transition from A major, which is totally normal in D major, and we go to a complete different key. Listen what happens here. That's of course a very beautiful move. So now we are in F major suddenly, which has nothing to do with D major, and the whole transition was very simple. Just a diminished chord turning into a dominant 7 chord, and now we are in F major. But now it gets really interesting. How does he get back to the main key, D major? The thing he does is, well, F major has a relative minor key, which is D minor, and now we are getting close. From D minor, it's of course a small step to turn it into D major again. And that very moment when we land again in D major, that's the most genius part of the whole piece. That's so wonderful how Mozart does it. So let's listen once more to the whole part that is so interesting, starting in A major, then going with dominant 7 and other options to go to F major, and then we land finally back to the tonic D major. And then the piece ends really beautiful back in the tonic D major. So that's actually what good composers do all the time. They find the beautiful harmonies and they use it in a way that it's interesting, it's not never boring, and the only thing you have to know is how does harmony work actually. So let's go back to our secondary dominant. If we use it on the old 100th, for example, I could do wonderful things in the first line already. So instead of just doing this, I could use secondary dominance, dominance all the time. First to go to D major, like this. So what I have to do is, what's the dominant of D major? That's A major. I add the 7, I play it in inversion, and then I have a wonderful set of chords. But of course I can do the same with the next 2 chords. If I make sure that my melody note D has a B minor chord, then I can calculate, okay, B minor has a 5, that is F sharp. So if I make a dominant 7 chord on F sharp, I can do the same trick. So now we end up with this. And actually you can tell when you use these chords, we are already making a transition from the Baroque almost to the Romantic period, because now I'm using medians, so the third is getting more and more important. So not only can you go from the tonic to the dominant or the subdominant or the relative key very easy, but you can also very easy go to a key that is minor or major third apart. So for example, what Mendelssohn really likes to do, and you all will recognize it, what he does in the beginning of his famous wedding march, that's basically the same trick, but it feels like we are in A minor now, but he is immediately back in F major, which is actually the tonic. And he uses the same tricks. Secondary dominants are really important, as you can discover when you try them. So let's try to do our choral prelude that we did before on the old 100th with a solo stop in the root positive. I will use the beautiful sesquialtera, and let's see if I can add a lot of secondary dominants and some suspensions and other things, and let's see if the choral prelude gets more interesting by doing that. And like I said last time, don't underestimate this. This is really difficult to add all these secondary dominants, because now you have to be in total control of your harmony, and then you can make it into something really exciting and beautiful, but you need control. So you start very simple and you add more and more beautiful colors like this. And then you can actually harmonize in a style of Bach, because this is basically his whole vocabulary, so to speak. It's not only root positions, it's all the inversions, it's diminished chords, secondary dominants, and there you go. That's kind of what the late Baroque is all about. Well, good luck with it.